In the middle of August, we're going to be getting the very biggest, most important update to Dune Awakening since its inception and release. And we're going to be combing through it, giving real examples, and I'm going to be showing you what's coming. More importantly, I'm going to give you all the things you need to do as soon as you watch this video in order to prepare for this patch, as some of these changes are going to change your behavior and how you interact within the world of Dune Awakening. Some of these changes are so superb, it's really good to see. Some of these, not so keen on. It's going to be a real mixed bag. There's going to be love and hate, war and peace between the comments, the PvP, the PvE. And thank you to Funcom for giving the testers vehicles. We do appreciate it, and I cannot wait for some real solid new content. As I'll just give you a quick few comments so you don't have to waste your time. A lot of this is centered around bug fixes and some enhancement to functionality and some great quality of life changes. However, ultimately, this offers very little new content. So if that's what you're after, we're going to have to wait till December to get something more meaty. But let's not muck around. Let's get into the nuts and bolts. And we're going to start off with some of the changes to the vehicles, as this is going to be probably the most noticeable change for the whole update. But honestly, there's so much packed in here. But let's talk about the carrier. You may or may not have seen the insane shots or clips getting forced into the sand. Then someone jumps out, puts a thumper down while it's being forced down to the ground, and ultimately a worm comes and destroys it. Or they'll try to take away the spice if it's got the harvester attached. We have some pretty epic changes. I've been doing some testing. Some of this is going to work very nicely, and some of it still needs some more work to make sure some of these scenarios don't happen. But colliding with Ornithopters will now cause the Ornithopters both to get knocked back. Their intention here is to mitigate the greifing, which we just saw. You'll get swarmed, be forced to land. Now, does it work in practice? Well, after doing some testing, it's a yes and a no. But I tell you what, the carrier feels like a freaking rocket ship compared to what it used to be. It feels so much better, much more enjoyable to fly. It has an increased speed in the dragonfly mode, so when your wings are beating, that's a speed increase of 20%, very noticeable. They've also halved the carrier's generator heat buildup, which means, as well as increase the overall boost power by 10%, they've also increased the speed while in vulture mode for the carrier Ornithopter. So overall, this is a huge buff to the speed and massive reduction in heat buildup, allowing the carrier to boost for longer, and has a crazy top speed now, particularly when boosting and in vulture mode. And it feels very similar to other Ornithopters now, but it's just still very bulky, turning and everything, still very chunky monkey, but it's certainly a much better place. Now, is it foolproof to being griefed? No. I still believe it's going to be able to be forced down, but it's going to be much harder. In my testing, the biggest issue is the collision will now cause both the Ornithopters to bounce off each other instead of just the other scout or assault bouncing off the carrier. So this bouncing mechanism will also cause the carrier to lose altitude, but it's much harder to keep up with the boost and how long it can boost, and the altitude it can gain is crazy. If you have an assault with rockets or a scout with rockets, it's going to be very difficult to keep up with this thing, at least from my little bits of testing, but it is a dramatic change. I think people will find the carrier much more enjoyable to use. So quite a big win there. But let me know in the comments what you think from what you've seen. Is this going to be foolproof? To me, it's still quite possible, at least from my testing, but it is much harder. So some of the other changes to the carrier, the power and generator tier upgrades are now more noticeable. I think that's across the board. Assault and carrier Ornithopters have their booster thrusters updated, allowing them to boost to increase their max vulture speed. So that sort of shows what I was talking about before. Now they all operate like the scout. The carrier, the assault feel so much better. Very similar to the scout now. When you boost in vulture mode, you get a lot more speed. All the thrusters act as boosters now. This has already been covered in what we were talking about, but the carrier has increased thruster boost now. So as a strategic option, you can just hold shift, cut what you're carrying, which will drop to the ground and then boost away. This is a good thing to point out because it does mean in the very worst scenario, you will pretty much be able to escape all griefing scenarios, except for the one where you're still carrying something and you get forced down. But at least you'll always be able to get the carrier out. I believe that is almost a certainty now. Not if you're carrying your harvester or a buggy, you may have to cut it. I did do some testing with the assault Ornithopter with the new boost, and it is feeling much better. This was only the Mark 5, so I can't wait to try the Mark 6. But now you can expect the same behavior as the Scout. When you use the thruster, your top speed will increase, making you feel so much more agile, faster, and it should improve that horrible feeling you get when you fly the Assault. Now it's much more enjoyable. This is only the Mark 5, so Mark 6 should be sweet. Really like these changes to the vehicles so far. And it continues to get better here. And I tell you what, praise Shai Hulud, because they have finally lowered the Ornithopter engine sound. So along with lowering the engine sound, they've also done the gear transition in the buggy. That is going to be much lower now. All modules on vehicles that are being assembled can now be damaged by radial damaged weapons. So these are things that are like rockets, grenades, more than likely the las guns, which is very important because previously vehicles that were under construction, I don't think would take damage, which could cause a lot of problems. You could do a lot of griefing with this. You could drive or fly a vehicle to someone's front door, take off the treads, and then they can't move it. No other vehicle can move it, which ties into this next big change where destroyed vehicle modules will now always pass along any further damage they receive to the chassis. Previously, they would try pass the damage onto the modules that weren't attached, making the vehicles harder to destroy. They also mentioned that they have made an attempt to fix that crazy rubber band bug where your Ornithopter would get stuck when the worm was roaming nearby. The way they've worded it makes me a little sus to see if to really be confident that it's fixed, but we shouldn't see that rubber banding anymore. This is probably another important change to note as well. They fixed that issue when you have full radiation stack and you're in a vehicle and you wouldn't die. Now you will. So be very mindful of that. They've also mentioned a player now needs to be the owner or co-owner to be able to repair a vehicle module. Not so sure why they've done that. Not so keen on that. I think associate should also be able to do that. Can't think of too many scenarios where you wouldn't want someone to be able to repair your vehicle. And just slipping this one in here, as it's a huge one, is that freaking annoying bug where the spice field would appear, but then once you landed and tried compacting it, it didn't actually exist. So they mention here the partially harvest spice fields now show correct visuals after a client reconnects. And again, partially harvest spice fields now show correct visuals after a server restart. So to me, that kind of means they tried to fix that issue of the ghost spice fields or mirages. Now, this one is a little bit disappointing, but we'll break it down because there's some very keywords here. But what they've done is they've improved the resource distribution of Summer Jabal content blocks to prevent very large Primrose fields from spawning. Keyword here is very large. There's only probably about 3 to 4 very large Primrose fields within Dune Awakening's Haga Basin. One of them happens to be my location where I built my base. Keep in mind, mine was always open for the public, and I'm really hoping they haven't actually changed the landscape at all, because it sort of does seem like they've changed some of the rock formations around these areas. I really hope not, because that would really mess things up for me and anyone else who is built around these areas. Many people within my server would drop by my base and farm these areas to get anywhere from 50 to 100,000 milliliters of water, which is a lot. Not to mention it was just a beautiful area to walk through and experience. But now with this change, these very large fields, probably the 3 to 4 that exist, have been cut down, pretty much stripped, which for me is very disappointing because it did give a lot more use cases for the sift and the tools to collect water, as these areas were always prime spots. It would save you a lot of time. I also understand that building near these locations early game would dramatically speed up your progress. So it is balancing, but at the cost for a few people that would have taken advantage of it. And now collecting water is going to be a bit more of a focus, as there is going to be a market for water now. But we'll come back to that soon because it ties in directly to this change, I believe, and probably why they've done it, as well as it being just a very quick way to speed through progression, having access to so much water so early on. Now, the good news is on this change is that the large Primrose fields are still throughout Oadam, or however you want to say it, as well as some areas of Jabal. So large, still there, very large. They've been cut down, destroyed, and little remnants remains. This next change is pretty freaking huge. I'm really glad to see it. The Solido replicator will now encode all the placeables and decorations, allowing you to copy your fully functional, stylish base and everything that's included. So now, once we've unlocked the Solido, now we've got it ready. So see how all the various things are placed, the lighting, the containers. Now we can just go douche, copy it. Then if we want to go build it somewhere else, we first have to build another subfief, then move our subfief out of the way, and then we can throw the building down and we can confirm. And if we start building it, you'll see that it's even got the container blueprints there. How freaking cool is this? This is exactly what we were hoping for. This is a fantastic change. No longer do you have to place every single freaking object every time you set up base in the deep desert. Massive, great one to see. They've added 3 new modules to the base management menu within your subfief or advanced subfief console that shows information about the base's power supply, water storage, and inventory capacity. So now when you open your subfief, we have this very nice UI. Gives us a very good complete picture now. Tells us what we've underutilized and where we can really maximize the storage, water, and power. It would be really freaking cool if we could hover over power or something and then it give us a breakdown of how many structures we have of each power or water or storage, etc. But this is a huge welcome change with the slot usage being very helpful as well. Another excellent quality of life for builders is that we can now place pillars between walls. So some of you may know this, some of you might not, but with some of the pieces, particularly the Atreides pillar, you'll notice you can't place walls connecting to it at all in the current build, but the patch will allow us to build with the wall clipping into the pillars, which will be huge because look how restrictive this is. I want to put a wall right here connected to this pillar. You can't do it. But with the new patch, so here's a clear example of what we will be able to do. See how the wall is connected to the pillars? It's simply going to allow us to do that now. Crazy, it didn't work before, but yes, now it will work. This is what you'll be able to build, excluding some of these other rare pieces that aren't in the building set yet. But as you can see, very welcome change. This is going to help so many situations when it comes to building, particularly with the Atreides pillars. This is a big one. Pentashields are going to now function just like any other building material. It's going to be able to sustain damage much easier like any other building piece. You hit it, health will go down. Should take a lot less to get through pentashields now. Given their low health, these could be some very good options of entry now. They've also fixed the pentashield bug, which is kind of unfortunate because it looks so cool, but now you can't build pentashields without having proper foundation or connections. So no more floating, hovering, or complete 360 degrees pentashields. That's all gone. And the last change we'll cover in this video is they're getting rid of the almighty flower sand spot within Haga Basin, as well as removing any safe spice field or flower sand spots within Haga Basin. So no longer will there be any spawns that were very nice and efficient to harvest because you didn't have to worry about the worm. Those are all going to be going. And another really important quick change to note is that they're changing the spawn of the towel cutter array and putting it where it should be within shoal and swapping it with the sandflies cutter array. So they're just switching locations. Fly cutter array is found now. You will now find the towel cutter and vice versa. So we've got some excellent changes to the economy, more importantly to the exchange. So now put up a few items. Obviously there's nothing for sale. This is the test server again. But here we have the Hollower Stillsuit boots. You'll notice now we have a search bar. Okay, so it doesn't search on Stillsuit. How about Hollower? Okay, so it looks like it's only tracking the first part of the name. What if we type in boots? Nothing. Okay, so the search is very rudimentary, not extremely helpful. You will have to have the name. So we can't do broad terms, seem to only search on the keyword of the unique. Let's try on some resources that I've posted. Let's go fiber. Fiber is found. What happens if we type fiber in another category? Oh, it worked. Okay, so what if we go onto armor and type fiber? Fiber's found. Okay, so it looks like it does pick up regardless of where you are. We'll just type in Hollower. Oh, and it did find it. Okay. Cool. Well, it does have some good functionality there. We can now search for items using keywords regardless of which category we're in. So they also state that the exchange has now been reorganized to make browsing for items more convenient and intuitive. Definitely has helped with the UI because remember you'd click melee weapons, be like 4 different categories I think under here. We'll do a comparison. I'll switch over to how it is currently so we can have a look. But it does seem a lot more helpful. And here we've even got some broad categories for uniques. Long blade, short blade. They've really cut down the schematics. Okay, that's very helpful. Oh, even the uniques have light armor, heavy armor, still suit. Excellent. Still suits, head, chest, hands, feet. Yeah, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Still probably use some improvements, but it gives us a much easier and cleaner UI. So I do like this, is a good change. But there you go, here is the search bar and the new changes to the UI. So this other change is pretty cool. They've drastically reduced the prices of all the spice related beverages and food. So I was going to cover a lot more of the changes, but I just want to see if this video tracks all right because it takes a lot of time and effort. So if it doesn't get much reception, it's really not worth the time. But do let me know what you think of these videos. Is it helpful having the visuals and the testing? Put down some comments. Now we'll just quickly rattle through what you really need to do and pay attention to before this patch is released. 1, harvest the shit out of the flower sand spot within Haga Basin. And that will be a really potent way to just stock up on flower sand before they make this change. The other things are, go onto your market now, purchase your tile cutter arrays if they're reasonable price, store them for after this patch as they will become rarer. A little bit harder to get as the chest spawn's going to be reducing its prevalence and ease. So this could be a good investment right now, or just farm the spots where tile cut array is before the patch goes live so that it is a bit easier. Also, the boosting modules for the carrier, the assault are going to be worth way more because they actually are so freaking good now. Those will be great schematics to buy up. And there were some other things I really wanted to mention, but it's late. I can't remember them. But please let me know in the comments and I'll put a pinned notes on all the things we need to do before this patch gets dropped. But in summary, this patch is actually freaking amazing. It is unfortunate that we're in a position where it's just actually fixing things because this game was really just early release, but they did a beautiful marketing campaign to make it full release. It's very much full, but it's also very much not. It's an early release title in my mind. However, love the game to death. Can't stop playing it. Overall, this is an excellent, superb, feature-rich, and bug fix-rich change. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful. Peace.